whole conference. So I'll be, yeah, we can start with questions.
Our panelists. Gina, hang on.
There's got to be some good questions here.
Thank you. Jenny, do you have a
Where are we?
a facility, I'm right here.
Okay.
A facility in Florida yet?
Who are you? Dan?
Yeah. So one of our most advanced project is in Orlando, Florida, which is where I am based in. We don't have a facility yet. We're currently in the process of land acquisition and permitting. We anticipate to start construction this fall, and then it'll take about a year. So we're hoping that we will start operation next fall, or at the end of the year. And we're also looking into developing projects in other areas of Florida as well, including Tampa and Miami, Jacksonville, and potentially the Gainesville, North Florida area, and Okeechobee. Yeah.
So the facility in Orlando, what kind of waste will you be taking? What kind of materials?
So it looks like most of it will be food waste because we have a lot of theme parks in the area and we have a big school district. So it'll mostly come from those organizations with food waste. We do not see a lot of agriculture waste in the area because we are trying to, have our radius of 40 miles from the biogas plant. Typically, we would love to see some manure, but we don't see a lot of that. So that'll probably not be a mix. We're also looking for industrial organic waste. So we're currently in search of those different types of feedstock available.
Great, thank you.
No problem.
Gene, one thing I want to say to what you were saying before, I believe I know one of the companies that you work with in Denmark that makes the AD reactors and knows the technology. They are really good. They know their stuff. So if you go with AD, what Jenny is saying, they know their stuff very well. Be a success.
This is for Brad. I was very intrigued by the wet-dry collection method and then having a specialty collection. Has that ever been tried? Like, has there ever been a pilot for doing that?
Is this on? Yeah. So one of the most famous ones that's done wet dry, and they didn't do a separation for like textiles and C&D or other stuff. It was just quite literally just wet or dry.
Okay.
One of the most famous ones is Guelph. I think it's Guelph, Ontario, on Canada, and they were doing this since the 90s. And they had one of the first sort of organics. It wasn't AD at the time; it was mostly indoor composting. And they had some issues with ammonia and stuff. It collapsed their roofs, so they've learned. But no, so far as I know, they still do wet dry up there. But there are certainly others that have tried it in the past, and then it's kind of gone out of favor because again, they couldn't get the materials out for it to make sense. We're getting to the stage now where we're getting much closer to that. But it has been done in the past. But Guelph, Geulph, I think is how you spell it up in Canada.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all for the talks. Jenny, you mentioned the materials now. It's called a biofertilizer. Is it actually a fertilizer registered with the Department of Agriculture, or is it a soil amendment?
So we are registered with the Florida Department of Agriculture as a fertilizer, and we have the permit from the Florida Department of Environmental Protection to land apply our biofertilizer as an organic fertilizer. So we have all the legal requirements now.
I'm in a similar business, and a big question I have now with new projects is I can't estimate what the impact of PFAS is going to be, and also the micro and nanoplastics. How did you address those?
Yeah, so we test all of our incoming materials and the outgoing products because we want to make sure that we're not giving our farmers something that's contaminated if they're going to be growing, vegetables and food for people. So we do have a lot of those lab testing, And we have 3 systems in order to take out those contaminants. So the first one I talked about in my presentation, where we have a depacking system that takes out most of the contaminants, such as plastics and cardboard. We also have a secondary system. During the biogas process, there's a turbine somewhere, and then that takes out all the grit, such as glass or any other inorganic materials that still went through. And then the third process is a screening process. So when we're, the remaining liquid, which is the biofertilizer, they will get screened, so any other types of contaminants, such as microplastics, will be taken out. We also do not take in any wastewater. That is one of the ways we manage any other types of contaminants that could be potentially hazardous. So yeah, that is how we manage that.
We're talking about, for the PFAS, we're talking about less than a part per billion. I mean, all the materials have it, okay? And the EPA came out with a risk-based health assessment over a lifetime of a PFOA of 4 parts per quadrillion. Okay, that's every place, okay? I mean, that just made the attorneys excited. That's what fears me. As far as the micro and the nanoplastics, we don't have a procedure out there to analyze for it now. So we don't know. And some states are actually looking at that now, at least in our operations. So I don't know what to do as far as new business with those on the horizon, okay, coming about. We just don't know. We can't think of a way to remove nano and plastics there. And we don't have a procedure to get rid of the PFAS.
One thing I think about the nanoplastics, what we don't know about is, well, we know that they get into our cells, body cells, into the smallest things. And they get into the cells and they don't know what you do to the nucleus of the cells. Maybe changing of your, what do you call it, the DNA of your body. And that's scary, because we don't know that yet. So it's hard to put regulations on what can come in and what cannot, and not knowing really what's happening. And this stuff is already out there. Sometime in certain face creams, there are nano materials in there. Certain face creams for against getting wrinkles and things like that. I don't know any names that have it. But they are out there. Some paints, actually nano paints, that are used against graffiti on walls. So if someone comes along and sprays, it just drips down off the wall, it doesn't stick. That can be dangerous stuff and getting into our bodies. And they just don't know those levels, what it can do to you now. That's the problem. And with 4 parts per trillion in drinking water, it's difficult to try to get it and try to take care of it.
Any other questions for the panel? All right, we are a little bit early, and I've got
Beer
to, well,
time.
here's the thing. We've got carving stations that aren't ready, so I can't start the reception just yet. Tim, pull my slides up. If you don't mind, I'm going to take about 10 to 15 minutes just to kill some more time and talk to you all.